Welcome to Facts Intrigue. Today, we unravel the truth behind some of history's most enduring myths. From horned Vikings to a diminutive Napoleon, we've all heard tales that have shaped our understanding of the past. But how much of what we believe is grounded in reality? Over the course of this journey, we'll dissect these stories, separating fact from fiction, and uncovering the truth hidden beneath layers of misconception and misinterpretation. Myth or reality, debunking common historical myths. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Facts Intrigue for more fascinating historical insights. Your support fuels our journey into the past, unearthing truths and debunking myths. Now let's delve into the world of historical myths. Throughout history, certain myths have taken root in our collective consciousness. But how much of what we believe is actually true? The term myth often evokes images of ancient gods and epic tales, but in this context, we're referring to widely held beliefs that are actually misconceptions. These historical myths, often passed down through generations, can significantly shape our understanding of the past. But when we delve deeper, we often find that these stories have been distorted or exaggerated over time. It's important to question these narratives, to challenge our assumptions, and to seek out reliable sources. Doing so not only reveals the truth, but also brings us closer to the real people and events that have shaped our world. So let's embark on this journey of discovery together, uncovering the reality behind some of history's most enduring myths. Let's begin with our first myth. Myth number 1, Vikings wore horned helmets. This image of a fearsome Norse warrior, horns gleaming, charging into battle, is certainly an evocative one. It's seeped into our pop culture, adorning everything from comic strips to sports team logos. But truth be told, this image is as mythical as the dragons these seafarers were rumored to fight. This popular misconception likely stems from the romanticized depictions of Vikings in 19th and 20th century art and literature. In reality, the practical Vikings valued functionality over aesthetics. Horned helmets would have been more of a hindrance in battle, getting tangled in clothing or obstructing vision. Furthermore, no archaeological evidence of horned Viking helmets has been found till date. While this image is iconic, historical evidence suggests otherwise. Debunking Myth 1. Historical records and archaeological finds reveal that Viking helmets were hornless, designed for battle efficiency and not for theatrical appearances. This might come as a surprise, given the enduring image of a Viking warrior adorned with a horned helmet, charging into battle. Archaeological findings from Viking burial sites reveal a different story. In fact, only one complete helmet has ever been recovered from the Viking Age, discovered in Norway. This artifact, known as the Geirmundbu helmet, is hornless, with a rounded iron cap, a guard for the eyes and nose, and a spectacle guard around the eyes and nose. What's more, the sagas and poems from the Viking era, while filled with vivid descriptions of battles, voyages, and feasts, make no mention of horned helmets. So where did this myth originate? It seems the image of horned Vikings was a creation of the 19th century, during a period known as the Romanticist movement. Artists and writers sought to portray the Vikings as noble savages, and the horned helmet was an artistic invention that served to distinguish the Vikings from other warriors of the past. The concept was further popularized in the late 19th century by composer Richard Wagner's opera cycle, The Ring of the Nibelung, where the Viking characters wore horned helmets, setting a trend that continues to this day in popular culture. It's also worth noting that from a practical standpoint, horns on a helmet would be highly impractical in battle. They would give an enemy something to grab onto, or could deflect a blow towards the wearer's neck. Not exactly the best design for a piece of protective gear. So the image of a Viking with a horned helmet is more fiction than fact. It's a reminder that history is often more complex than the simplified images we carry in our minds. And as we continue to dig deeper into the past, we'll find that many of our assumptions about history may need to be reassessed. Myth 2. Napoleon was extremely short. This is a notion that has been deeply ingrained in our collective perception of the French emperor. We often picture Napoleon Bonaparte, the man who dominated European affairs for over a decade, as a diminutive figure, barely reaching the shoulders of his contemporaries. However, this image is far from the truth. This myth has its roots in a misunderstanding of French and British units of measurement. In French measurements, Napoleon was listed as 5 foot 2 inches. However, the French foot and inch were longer than their British counterparts. When converted to British measurements, Napoleon's height was actually closer to 5 foot 7 inches. This height was average, even slightly above average for a Frenchman of his era. So it turns out, Napoleon wasn't the short man history has often made him out to be. In reality, Napoleon's height was average for his time. Moreover, Napoleon was often depicted with his imperial guard, which was made up of very tall soldiers. This visual contrast may have contributed to the perception of Napoleon as being shorter than he actually was. Another factor that may have played a role is the desire to belittle Napoleon. He was, after all, an adversary of the British. By portraying him as short, they could undermine his image and stature, both literally and figuratively. As we delve into history, it becomes clear that the truth is often more nuanced than the myths that persist. It reminds us of the importance of context and perspective when interpreting historical facts. To conclude, Napoleon Bonaparte was not exceptionally short for his time. The myth of a pint-sized Napoleon is simply a result of misinterpretation and perhaps a dash of historical bias. The man who dominated Europe in the early 19th century was, in fact, average in height. As we can see, the short Napoleon is another historical myth debunked. Additional myths. There are many more historical myths that need debunking. Diving deeper into the annals of history, we find a plethora of myths that have been accepted as fact over centuries. Let's take a moment to debunk a few more of these fascinating tales. Firstly, the myth of the flat Earth. Despite popular belief, educated people in the Middle Ages did not think the Earth was flat. Ancient Greeks had already proven that the Earth was round over 2,000 years ago. The notion of a flat Earth is a modern misconception that emerged in the 19th century. Next, we venture into the realm of science with the myth that Albert Einstein failed math. This is categorically untrue. Einstein was a prodigy in mathematics from a young age. The confusion arises from a change in the Swiss grading system. A 6 became the highest grade and 1 the lowest. When Einstein's grades were converted, it appeared as though he had performed poorly. Moving on, we debunk the myth surrounding the Great Wall of China. Contrary to popular belief, it cannot be seen from space with the naked eye. This misconception likely originates from a reinterpretation of a quote from William Stukeley in 1735, where he said the wall was like a ribbon girding the earth. Then we have the myth that Marie Antoinette said, "Let them eat cake," in response to hearing those French peasants had no bread. This quote was actually written by philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau in his autobiography, when Marie Antoinette was only a child, and Rousseau attributed it to a great princess, not specifically to her. Lastly, we tackle the myth that Paul Revere shouted, "The British are coming," during his famous midnight ride. In truth, Revere was far more discreet due to the presence of British soldiers in the area. He warned of the British approach, but certainly not by shouting it. As we've seen, not everything we believe about history is true. By questioning and investigating these myths, we can sift fact from fiction and gain a clearer understanding of our shared past. It's a reminder that history is not just about dates and events, but also about the stories we tell and the way we interpret them. So the next time you hear a historical fact, take a moment to question it. You might just find that it's more myth than reality. Remember, history is as much about understanding the present as it is about learning from the past. The more we know, the better we can understand ourselves and the world around us. As we've seen, not everything we believe about history is true. History is full of fascinating stories, but not all of them are true. Today, we've dug deep into the annals of time, daring to question what many take for granted. We've unraveled the threads of 2 common historical myths, revealing the truth hidden beneath the tapestry of lore. First, we ventured into the harsh, windswept world of the Vikings, a fierce warrior people whose helmets, contrary to popular belief, did not sport horns. This enduring image, solidified in art and media, is but a fabrication. The truth? Their helmets were hornless, designed for practicality and battle efficiency, not spectacle. Then we turned our attention to Napoleon Bonaparte, the infamous French emperor. Often depicted as a man of short stature, we discovered this assumption to be the result of a historical misunderstanding. Napoleon, in fact, stood at a height that was average for his era. The confusion, as we found out, stemmed from a discrepancy in the measurement standards between France and England. As we journeyed further, we touched upon a multitude of other myths. From the fallacy of a flat Earth to the unfounded rumor of Albert Einstein failing math, we've begun to see that history, like a well-woven tale, is often embroidered with elements of fiction. But it is in debunking these myths, in separating fact from fiction, that we gain a richer understanding of our past. Each myth we unravel not only brings us closer to the truth, but also sheds light on the societal and cultural context that gave birth to these misconceptions. So let's continue to question, to probe, and to unearth the hidden truths of our history. For it is in the pursuit of truth that we truly understand the past, embrace the present, and shape the future. Remember, history isn't just about the stories we're told, it's about the truths we uncover. By uncovering the facts, we gain a deeper understanding of our past. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Your support helps us to continue debunking history's most intriguing myths. So delve deeper into the past, unravel the truth. Stay curious and keep exploring with Facts Intrigue. Thank you for watching. We hope this journey into the heart of history has sparked your curiosity and debunked some long-standing myths. Remember, the past is not always as it seems. By questioning, researching, and exploring, we can uncover the true stories that have shaped our world. Never stop seeking the truth,